G'day folks, I'm Scott Holsworth, and today we're going to make a crunchy Thai omelette called Hoi Tod. It's a classic Thai street food dish. It involves a crunchy batter, some mussels, bean sprouts, some coriander, and I'm adding normally it would be served with sriracha sauce over the top, but we'll do that. But I'm going to also add some Jeffrey's tonic glaze to the top. So we're going to use a classic Indian tonic, some soy, some oyster sauce and sesame oil, touch of ginger to give it a sticky glaze, which reminds me of an omelette I had in Taipei a long time ago. It was made with oysters, and it was a crunchy type omelette as opposed to a soft one, and it had this sticky glaze, and I remember it was quite evocative and had the earthiness of ginger and so on. So we're going to try and replicate that. So first of all, we're going to make our glaze. And we'll take a little bit of ginger, maybe like 5 slices. That'll be enough, I think, for this quantity. A little bit of oyster sauce. I'd say there's probably about 2 tablespoons worth. Similar amount of soy, dark soy. Now we add some classic Indian tonic, the Jeffrey's classic Indian tonic. Quite viscous and syrupy, adds a beautiful sweet element. And a few drops of sesame oil, roasted sesame oil. Spot on. So we'll let that simmer for just a moment. And in the meantime, we're going to get our mussels ready. So these have been bearded already, so on the flat side of the mussel there's often that little bit of stringy hair hanging out. Put it to one side and de-beard them, as we say, before you cook them. So we're going to get a pan nice and hot. I'm going to move the glaze to the side for a moment. So the pan's got to be quite hot. In the restaurant we use a steamer, and we'd steam, if we want the mussels cooked fully, about 4 minutes. But today, because we're going to cook them again in the omelette, it's best if we undercook them a little bit. So I think about a minute would be more than enough, just as they crack open. They're going to be a little bit tricky to handle afterwards, but it's well worth it. Take your time to pull them out so they stay in one piece, because later on they're going to get cooked again. So to get this going, I'm going to put a little tiny bit of oil. I'm just using a plain oil. This is like pumice oil. So anything that doesn't have a strong scent to it is perfect for this dish today. Crank that up a little bit. You need a lid as well when you're cooking these. So you put another pan on top, or if you don't have a lid that fits, I'm just using the one off of our rice cooker. That's just enough for this quantity. You don't have to do anything too fussy. And I'm going to get some bowls ready on the side, because I need to tip the cooked mussels as soon as they're cooked into the bowl. I don't want to keep cooking in the pan, so I'm going to whack them into this bowl, and then I'm going to use these 2 bowls for my mussels and my shells. It's getting there now. So I can hear that sizzling. Yeah, that's about hot enough. Here we go. Just a splash of water as well. You can use things like sake or other things to scent it, but you don't really want to have another scent or add any other flavours. There's a lot of flavour coming later on. They're starting to open up. Doesn't take much. And again, we're not trying to cook them through fully. You just need them to crack open. You could use an oyster knife as well when they're completely raw. It's a little bit more time consuming and a bit harder, but crack them open so the oyster's completely, so the mussel's completely raw. Okay. So they're just nicely cooked actually. Pull that to the side and just gently pull it out. Put a few here. This quantity, I don't know how many mussels I've got here, I've got a little handful, is good to make an omelette for 2 people to share. Unless you're really hungry and you're going for it, then it might be a generous portion. After this, we're going to make our batter, and it's normally made with rice flour and mung bean flour, but I'm adding a little bit of tempura flour, because this is supposed to be a crunchy omelette, and I'm probably making it a bit crunchier than it'd be made as a street food dish in Thailand, but that's just my take on it, I suppose. Adding a bit of tempura flour I reckon it's a great addition. Mussels are smelling pretty awesome. If the mussels haven't opened up at this stage, you can spend a bit of time and pry it open. But for the purpose of this demonstration, I'm going to keep going and put that to the side. Cool. Let's keep all the juices. Leave that to the side now. Okay, now we're going to make our batter. So you just need a bowl and a whisk, pretty straightforward. So I'm adding about 2 tablespoons of the mung bean flour. Rice flour, I'm going to add 3 tablespoons. And then tempura flour, again 3 tablespoons. And then we'll just whisk that up with a bit of soda water. So a pinch of salt as well. The soda water thing is not traditional either, but it's certainly a good addition. And so often people use it to make tempura batter. See, it's fizzing out there. You see, it's going to be lovely and crunchy. It's a bit like the consistency of pancake batter. That's what you're after. This is a bit more like a crepe batter. Whisk out any last few lumps and stick that to the side. Alright, now we're going to heat our pan for the omelette. It looks like an excessive amount of oil, but it really is the only way to sort of get it crunchier on the outside. We're pretty much shallow frying it. And again, I'm using the same oil as before. This is pomace oil. It doesn't have a strong scent or flavour. You don't really impart any other flavours, like strong olive oils or strong sesame oils or anything like that. It wouldn't really work. Got a fair bit of oil in there. I think that's probably about right. Cool. Now, you got to get ready beforehand. You got to wash some bean sprouts, have some coriander ready to go as a garnish. I've cut some spring onion already. That's going to be for a garnish, but in the pan we also need some spring onion and some garlic. So what I'm going to do is chop a little bit of that up while the pan heats. The garlic will break down a little bit easier when you sprinkle a bit of salt on it. I've crushed it. Now I'm going to chop it. I don't mind having chunks of garlic in my food. I like eating a lot of garlic, so I'm going to leave it fairly chunky. But if you prefer it finer, keep chopping. But just realise that it might burn easier in the pan later on. And then, because of spring onion, this has been washed already. Cut it in half, and then into little rounds, just like. Just 1 stalk of spring onion is enough for this portion. Move that to the side. Okay, cool. So to move the omelette around, I'm using a spatula and a fork because we need to break it at one stage. There's a little bit of a technique to this. I was getting there. I want it a little bit hotter. Have everything ready to go, because once you get moving, you don't want to mess around looking for things. You need to just sort of move at one time. I'll get my plate ready as well. While that's heating, we also, the seasonings for this, I'm using a bit of brown sugar, some white pepper, some fish sauce, and we're going to beat an egg into it as well. Don't whisk the egg completely, just need to break it up. You can kind of still see the white in the yolk. There's more than enough. You can still see a bit of both. Let's just drop a little bit of butter in to see how hot the oil is. Okay, it's getting there. See, it's starting to bubble up. Spot on. Looking really good. So let's pour a little bit of butter in. That should do us. And keep it together a little bit. Push it in. Okay, let's chuck in a bit of spring onion. And our mussels. Don't be afraid to include a bit of the juice. Not tons because it'll dilute it, of course, but yeah, that's looking really good. Embed the mussels, push them in a little bit so they sit into the batter nicely. At this stage, break it a little bit because we need a little place to put our egg. Keep the mussels sitting on top of the omelette. So the egg's going to kind of come in between the chunks of omelette. There we go, just pull it over the top. Put it in the gaps, but also a little bit on top of the omelette. It's bubbling up, and you can see how crunchy it's going to be. While that's happening, just edge it to the side a little bit, and chuck a little bit of leftover spring onion and garlic in, let that sizzle away. Yeah. Good sprinkling of sugar, black pepper. Black pepper is really important to make it taste awesome, and just splash some fish sauce around. A little bit's fine. Now it's very fragrant. At this stage, we're going to put a little mound of green sprouts. And start to spoon that over into the omelette. And fold it up. Stand by with our little buttons. While this is crunching up, I've prepared, I'll tell you about a little level of preparation I love to serve on the side. And this is called lamb pla prick. So it's some fish sauce, some tiny bird's eye chilies and a squeeze of lime juice. And I can't stop putting it on food. I can put it on any meal. It's my go-to condiment at the moment. That's the alarm to tell me that the omelette's ready. Take this away. Plate a little white. See how crunchy that looks. I think it looks awesome. You still see the pieces of egg, you can see the omelette. little crunchy bit on the side. And this is the bit that's not traditional. This is the glaze made with Jeffrey's Indian tonic syrup. It's beautiful. I think you can be pretty generous with this. And then, of course, a few sprigs of coriander. I think it's nice with a bit of lime. And then chuck that in there, and you're good to go. That's our special crunchy Thai mussel omelette.